911?
My mom's having a seizure.
Okay, what's the address?
3104 2nd Street Northeast.
Okay, is she breathing?
Are you breathing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, how old is she, hon?
40.
Okay. Does she have a history of seizures?
Do you have a history of seizures?
Not seizures. I had my stomach sore and I'm not feeling.
No, she hasn't had them before.
Okay, what's your name?
Brady
Brady, what's your last name?
Gleason.
Okay, and your address one more time.
3104 2nd Street Northeast.
Okay, we'll get them up there to you, okay?
Alright.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
I remember the day of Heather's stroke like it was just yesterday. It was a beautiful summer day. There was sun in the sky. It was a Saturday morning. Our kids, ages 7, 9, and 14, they were playing, and their mom had just gotten home from the grocery store. I passed by her as I was heading out the door and told her, I'll see you tonight. I love you. I'll see you tonight. And then I went to work at the emergency department at the hospital that I worked at. About 30 minutes into my shift, somebody knocked on an exam room door and said, please come here. Somebody's on the phone for you. It's EMS. I get out there and I talk to the EMS on the phone and they say, something's going on with your wife. She's dizzy, she's vomiting, her eyes are a little off, but she seems okay. She's moving her extremities. She actually walked out onto the gurney. They were getting her gown on and her vital signs taken, and I just remember being at the foot of her bed, rubbing her feet and trying to be consoling and ease her mind and put her at peace. And I told her everything would be okay. I looked into her eyes and I said, I love you. I love you. I love you. And things are going to be okay. And I'll never forget what happened next. I'll never forget it. Heather looked up at me, and she looked me right in the eye. And she said, I love you too. And I'll never forget those words. Because those were the last words that she ever told me. I love you too. Heather's neurologist told us that she was in a locked-in state. And a locked-in state is the most horrific thing that you can think of. Because your brain is perfect. You can think and you can feel emotions and you can want to love on your kids. You have that itch you want to scratch and you have that urge to go to the bathroom and you have the hunger pains that you want to eat. But you can't do anything. Because in a locked-in state, part of the brain is knocked out. Where you can't move any part of your body. You can't swallow, you can't eat, you can't scratch an itch, you can't hug your kids anymore. But all those emotions, those feelings, your brain, it's perfectly normal on the inside, except for the part that connects it to your body. So that was my wife. That was Heather's life. And she lived in that state for another 29 days.
The day my mom had a stroke, it was early morning on a Saturday. She had just gotten home from the store. My older brother was the one who heard her screaming to call 911. So he went upstairs to check on her, and he ended up having to call 911. And then a few short moments later, the EMTs arrived and took her to the ER. And later that day, we had to go visit her in the ER. Going to the ER to visit my mom, it was a very sad thing to see because she couldn't talk, she couldn't move, and it was kind of heartbreaking knowing that all she wanted to do was just hug us and be there for us. My favorite memory of my mom was the night before she had her stroke. We went out and had dinner at this Mexican place that was here in town. And it was a special moment for me because it was the very last moment that I actually got to talk with her one-on-one before the stroke ended up making her not be able to talk anymore. Now I am volunteering, giving back to the same camp that I went to after she passed from having a stroke. And I really enjoy giving back to those kind of people that are experiencing the same reality as I was when I was little. At camp, I am a cabin leader, so I'll be spending 100% of the time with the kids, going from activity to activity with them. I have future plans to eventually start my own nonprofit for child bereavement, so I can start camps around the U.S. and potentially worldwide even, just so I can go out there and help more and more people that are experiencing the same grief that I am and was when I was little.
It was just a normal summer morning back in June of 2011, and things were just as usual. Mom got back from the grocery store and went upstairs to read her book, and all of a sudden I heard her screaming, and I went to go check on her, and she said, "Brady, call 911." So I did. That was the first 911 phone call I've ever had to make. And after that, the ambulance took her away, and without knowing at that moment, the last words that she said before she left were, "I love you and everything's gonna be okay."
I have a couple memories of my mom and me when I was younger. Probably my favorite one was just going to McDonald's before school every day. It really gave us a chance to bond more, and it was the favorite part of my day. Another favorite moment of mine is the hugs. Like, nothing beats that, and nothing ever will. And that was my favorite memories of her.
I remember the one day when I walked in the hospice house and a hospice nurse was approaching me, and she had all these containers, and she said, "We have something very meaningful for you, and we'd like to share this with you." And she pulls me aside and she opens this container and shows me this. She shows me this right here. And she says, "You know, we took a mold of your wife's hand, and she's still alive. We took a mold of your wife's hand, and we wanted to make this for you and your boys because we know that there'll be a time when your boys are at school and all the other kids are making Mother's Day gifts and treats to bring home to their moms, and your boys are right in the class with them, and they're making treats as well. But when they get home, she's not there. There'll be those days where your son wins the ball game and does a three-pointer and a slam dunk, and he's so proud and he wants to get home to his mom, but she's not there. She's not there. Your boys will want something tangible to reach out to. So when your wife's hand is no longer possible to be there, we want to give you this to realize that it always is. So hospice is not a place of death, even though we know that's the outcome. Their focus is on life and bringing it forward, springing it forward, and getting every ounce of it that we can out of it. "29 days after having her stroke, Heather had passed away. Heather had passed away. And I'll never forget my boys. How devastated they were to see their mom pass away. To be there for their mother to pass away when she was supposed to go home. I'll never forget my 7-year-old. I've never heard a kid cry as loud in my entire life. He was inconsolable. Inconsolable. He wept and wept and wept and wept, and all of our hearts were broken. We had lost this amazing person to a stroke.
The day that she passed away, I really didn't know it was going to be the day. I just was woken up at about like 5 a.m. And she was breathing, her breathing was off. So my dad kind of knew it was almost her time to go. So we just spent the whole day. We brought her outside in the garden at the hospice house so she could breathe some fresh air one last time. And then shortly after that, she ended up passing.
That was the day where she finally passed. I wasn't able to witness it, but just to see my mom there, no longer alive. I made the choice to just lay by her side and hold on to her. Like she was still there.
My boys and I wanted to honor their mom's life in some significant way, to honor her legacy and give her life even when she was no longer with us. So we were thinking about ideas for this, and we thought, how can we improve and enhance stroke awareness? Get the word out to people about the signs of stroke and what to do about it, and the importance of immediate treatment to save all those brain cells.
To honor my mom, I ended up starting a high school stroke curriculum. It was taught to over 900 students, and we actually had one student that was in the seminar. He actually saved somebody that was having a stroke on the streets. He noticed something was off and he ended up dialing 911, and now she had the help that she needed. So things got better that day. It's kind of crazy knowing that what you teach in the world and then seeing it happen in the world. The Honorary 5th Coyote Award is an award that is given out to all kinds of stroke heroes, such as teachers, students, even U.S. senators, and it's to commemorate their involvement on the battle against stroke. I would recommend to someone who is suffering loss right now is to take some time and talk with people. Go get help if you need it, because you really do not want to keep all those emotions inside, because it's only going to get worse. You want to get better. I mean, grief is a process that happens for a lifetime. It never really ends, but having a companion there with you to walk the path with you is very helpful. A bereavement camp for kids like the one that I went to and the one that I am currently volunteering at, it does a lot for kids' lives. It really changes them for the betterment of themselves, and really transforms their grief into something that they can cope with.
There's a couple things I've done since to honor my mom. I think the first big part would be going to that high school and talking to my gym teacher and setting up a little program where my dad would come in and share with the class about stroke, and they would learn, what to do if someone close to you has a stroke. And that made a huge difference, especially there was a story of a kid who actually used that information from the program to save someone's life when they were having a stroke. So I think it was a very empowering program. Another thing I've done since then is volunteer at a summer camp for kids who have grief with loss of loved ones. I got into grief support ever since I was young. Like the year after my mom died, I got put in the program, and it helped a lot to just process what I was feeling and to know that it wasn't bad to feel those things, and it was a part of the healthy growth of moving forward with your life instead of being stuck there dealing with your grief. And after I did the camp a few times as a kid, I came back as a teen to volunteer and to help those kids with the things that I was helped with as a kid, to figure out how to channel this loss into doing something great with your life instead of dwelling on it. I think the biggest thing that I do on a daily basis is to honor my mom, is just to get up in the morning and try to do my best and to make people's days a little bit brighter, just like she did. And another thing is my whole plan in life was fundamentally based around what she did. We were both number peoples and we both liked math a lot, so I guess my whole career path is at a core based around her.
I did everything I could to try and make her stay at the hospital welcome, because we didn't think it was going to be a long stay or the last moments we would have with her. So I went on a day I had off and bought her some of her favorite things in the form of lip gloss, just to give her the flavor and taste of the things she loved, just because she couldn't eat anything or drink anything. I guess that I really have a lot of characteristics that she had that I get to carry on, with her love for people and her joyous attitude through pretty much everything. I've been given opportunities to work at the local Boys and Girls Club in Great Falls, and what my main thing is just to love and care for the kids there. And that's one of the things my mom did really well that really shines through me, thankfully. And I've been able to encounter different situations with kids that have been in my own situation or have been dealing through stuff, that I just have a calm and nurturing spirit that my mom carried throughout the life that she lived.
One of the things that I'm most proud of, because I've seen a big impact with it, is the Rocky Mountain Stroke Conference. A few years ago, I came up with this idea of, let's have a state conference where we bring together physicians and nurses and therapists and stroke advocates and patients, anyone in the stroke world, which all of us have a potential to be in. Bring them together, network and knowledge build and share resources to truly, in a unified format, come together to knock out stroke, crush disabilities, and save lives. Year one of our conference, we had a brilliant Doctor of Engineering, Dr. Noreen Kamal, and she presented on how she and the work of her team transformed how they approach stroke care from an engineering perspective in Canada, and it actually resulted in saving lives. Year two, we had Dr. Jeffrey Saver up to bat, and Dr. Jeffrey Saver and his team from UCLA, brilliant research team, they were actually able to tell all of us years ago that 2 million brain cells die off every minute that a stroke goes untreated, making it so important that we get the care we need, get to the emergency department, get to the hospital to save lives and save brain cells. Year three, we had Dr. Ed Joust from the East Coast join us. Dr. Joust is the lead author of the American Heart Association and American Stroke Association Ischemic Stroke Guidelines. Year four, we had a fantastic neurointerventionalist and neurosurgeon, Dr. Ramesh Grande from Utah. He came up to speak with us on the innovative and very, very interesting new treatment for stroke, endovascular stents, where they go up into your brain and through the vascular structures, and they attach to the clot and drag it out, opening the blood vessel nice and wide to allow blood flow through and save the patient's life. Phenomenal. And this year, we have Dr. Eric Helseth. Dr. Eric Helseth is from Las Vegas in California, and he's a lieutenant colonel retired from the Army with a very unique perspective on how to treat stroke. The Rocky Mountain Stroke Conference has grown from a state conference to a regional conference, and now it's the national conference, and we've even had international attendees through Zoom. It's remarkable how it's grown, how it's changed lives, and ultimately, hopefully, how it's saved lives. Again, bringing great purpose and honor to Heather when she can no longer be here. My boys and I are so honored to take you on this journey with us. We've taken you through the depths of incredible, heart-shattering loss of a mom and a wife to stroke. But beyond that, most importantly, where the story really begins, we've taken you on a journey where we didn't let our loss change us, but we used our loss to get out there and change the world and hopefully make some kind of positive impact while also honoring their mom. We've shown you the power of education in communities and high schools and major conferences with world-renowned stroke experts, all with a mission to save brain cells and save lives and make a difference in the world. We've talked about the power of recognizing stroke heroes with the 5th Coyote Award. I've talked about the power and the compassion and the love of hospice nurses and grief support and bereavement support and the importance of grief and bereavement camps for your kids. I'd like to close this program by sharing with you some important information about stroke. Stroke is scary. We shared that with you throughout our journey. It strikes fear in a lot of people, and we think we're powerless against it. 80% of all stroke is preventable. There's a lot we can do to even prevent us from having it, or our family members or loved ones from having it. So what do? The top 3 risk factors for stroke are smoking, tobacco use, hypertension or high blood pressure, and diabetes. If you have any of those 3, you nearly double your risk of having a stroke. So it's so important. If you smoke cigarettes, go see your healthcare provider, your nurse practitioner, your physician. Reach out to your community because there are many tools available to connect with you, to empower you, and to inspire you to knock out smoking tobacco. That's number 1. Number 2, if you have diabetes, that's not your fault. Diabetes happens to millions of people, and it's not their fault. There's no shame or judgment in that. But you can do a lot to control your diabetes and reduce the risk of having a stroke. Reach out here for your nurse practitioner or your physician, and reach out to your community because, again, there are tremendous tools and resources that can help you. If you have high blood pressure, reach out to your healthcare provider to help you knock out high blood pressure. 50% of all Americans have hypertension, and some of them don't even know it. So if you have not gotten in to see your healthcare provider in a year or 2 years or 5 years, or sometimes it's 10 years, right? We just don't like to go in to see our healthcare providers, but we should see them at least every year or sooner if we have an issue. So get in for your wellness checks, your annual visits, your blood pressure checks. There's a lot we can do to knock out stroke by preventing it. The second thing I want to talk with you about is, how do you recognize stroke? It too is scary and it's pretty complex, but remember this: be fast. Be fast in recognizing stroke and activating EMS. So what does Be Fast stand for? These are the major signs of stroke. If you see somebody, a loved one, a friend, a coworker, that says, gosh, my balance is suddenly off, or I feel dizzy all of a sudden, and they've not had that before, call 911. If you're looking at them and talking with them and you see an eye kind of darting off to the side, or if they tell you, geez, my vision is off, something's going on with my vision, I've never had this happen before, call 911, because that is a sign of stroke. If you're looking at somebody and their face seems like it's drooping down, even a subtle droop, like their mouth is down a little bit or maybe their eye, and that's new for them, call 911 because that's a sign of a stroke. That's a sign of a stroke. If they're trying to raise their arm and it's weak and it keeps falling down, and they raise their arm and it keeps falling down, or their leg, any extremity weakness, even if it's subtle, call 911 because it is a sign of stroke. And then the last symptom is S for speech. If you notice any changes in speech, it can be major slurring or even something subtle, but if it's new for someone, call 911 because it too is a sign of stroke. So be fast. Balance, eyes, face, arm, speech. If you notice any difference in those, it is T for time to call 911. And don't hesitate. If it ends up not being a stroke, that's okay. If it was a stroke, you have the potential to save somebody's life.
Mr. President, on the heels of Veterans Day and in honor of President Trump designating November 2018 as National Veterans and Military Families Month, I have the distinct pleasure of recognizing Jason Gleason of Great Falls, Montana, for his dedication to serving veterans in north central Montana. You see, Jason serves as a nurse practitioner in the Great Falls community-based outpatient clinic and has become one of the most sought-after experts in the field of veterans health care. A veteran himself, Jason spent 20 years in the Montana Air National Guard, retiring as Lieutenant Colonel. During his time in the Guard, he served as officer in charge of health promotion, medical readiness, staff development.
Will the Senate be in order? Senator from Montana.
And as assistant chief nurse, where he gained a great deal of knowledge and experience caring for fellow service members. Jason retired from the Air National Guard in 2015, and since then he has dedicated himself to providing exceptional health care to Montana veterans. He has built and maintained a patient panel that is at 110% capacity and 1,000 patients. When another provider recently retired, he stepped up and he took over the patient panel and provided care to another 556 veterans. Jason's also worked to improve the overall Montana VA system. He has recruited and mentored other nurse practitioners, which helped fill critical positions within the VA system. Jason also participated in a VA residency program that trains providers to better serve our women veterans. In 2011, he experienced a deep personal tragedy when his wife of 16 years, Heather, passed away from a stroke, leaving him a widower with 3 children. After his wife's death, he dedicated himself to becoming an expert on strokes. He regularly speaks to healthcare providers across the country about stroke prevention and stroke treatment, and received the Montana State Department of Health and Human Services Stroke Initiative Hero of the Year Award. Montana is incredibly lucky to have a healthcare professional like Jason Gleason serving our veterans. He is truly an excellent example of someone who puts service before self and understands that his service to our country did not end with his service in the military. I want to personally congratulate and thank Jason for his excellent work. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield back my time.